In this episode, we're breaking down the exact software tools we use to run our business, what's working, what we've tested, and what we're planning to switch to next. Welcome back to Full Throttle Finance, a financial literacy podcast where we break down complex financial topics into practical, relatable conversations. I'm Felicia, CEO here at Clean Bee Consulting. And I'm Allie, the senior bookkeeper here. Whether you're running a race program or just getting your business off the ground, we're here to help you make small shifts that drive better financial performance. Last week, we talked about everything sponsorship. We sponsored rider Kayla Jakob in the 2025 Moto America racing season. We talked about how we were very strategic with our logo placement, and we really showed what another business can learn from treating the sponsorships as a real marketing investment and not just donations. So if you've missed our last episode, it's packed with great insights on brand visibility, audience alignment, and getting actual return on investment from motorsport sponsorships. This week, we're talking about everything software systems. We've been using QuickBooks Online for years for our financial reporting, and over the last couple of years, we've tested platforms like Xero, Zoho Books, Wave, AppFolio, and now we're transitioning to Count, which is so exciting. Count is a local Pacific Northwest company that's helping us consolidate a lot of our financial reporting systems and actually other systems that aren't financial reporting systems, which is so cool.
Exactly. I know. Yeah, and with Intuit hiking the prices again, this is actually the second price increase that they've had in less than 1 year, but who's counting, right?
Right.
You know, we're going to help walk you guys through what's helping us work smarter so that you can decide if it's time for you to make a change for yourself as well, too. So it's pretty crazy. Like the last increase that QuickBooks Online or Intuit, however you want to reference them, it's the same company. The last time that they raised their prices was in August of 2024. And this new price increase actually starts on July 1st, 2025. And they're forcing a lot of things on people that will change within the software that comes with this price increase too. So, you know, for me specifically and for Allison too, right? We've been using QuickBooks Online for probably 10 or more years at this point each. And, you know, it's a great software program, especially for people who are not accountants. It takes care of a lot of the accounting for you when you're kind of just getting your toes dipped into running a business until you need a bookkeeper. It's super user friendly, and you know it's used by over 6 million customers. So I think that that on its own shows just how popular of a software it's been. For us as an accounting firm, we use the accountant version, which allows us to have most of our client dashboards all in one place where we can click and drill into. And you know, we have our own firm financials in QuickBooks Online. It's where we do our customer invoicing. It's where we track our time. It's where we track our project profitability. And it's where all of our receipts end up. So it's really honestly been a powerhouse software for us from the accounting and the financial report side of things. But there are definitely things that I do not love about QuickBooks Online. They are constantly changing the platform, and it's usually not useful changes. It's like moving things to a different menu that doesn't make sense, or just getting rid of features altogether that were really helpful that they've just somehow deemed not helpful for people. They're forcing people into using AI automations without the option to turn them off at all, which is not something that I'm super stoked about. There's a lot of bugs that happen often, especially with their new features, and it's pretty hard to get somebody worth a damn on the line to resolve problems and to resolve them timely. And they're constantly changing what features are included within each tier. So you might sign up for a tier and have access to have one certain feature that your business really needs and benefits from, and then they literally could take it away the next week and not even tell you. But it's in their terms and agreements that they can do that. So
the consistency just makes things difficult, and you know, really needing the human touch on things is really important.
I absolutely agree. So to put it in perspective, And like usually like I'm not one that really like cares about a price increase so much, especially if the software is doing what we want the software to do. But this price increase has really irked me quite a bit. And that is the only reason why I'm like, no, now is the time to figure out a better long-term solution for our firm. And that's why we're committed to doing so. So to put it in perspective, I'm going to go over between the price increase that they did last August to now, because both price increases have happened in the same year, right? I want to just like kind of show you guys just how much these software subscriptions are increasing. So there are 4 different levels within QuickBooks right now that you can sign up for an account. They have the Simple Start, they have the Essentials, they have the Plus, and they have the Advanced licenses. And so Simple Start is probably the smallest of the price increases. It's increased $8 per month over the last year. But then when you look at the Essentials subscription, it's actually increased $15 per month over the last year. And then we get into Plus, where it has increased $25 a month more per month. And then the one that I think is absolutely the most absurd is the Advanced, which has increased by $75 a month just over the last year. So that's pretty wild. And, you know, that doesn't include payroll. That is literally just for a financial report system. Like you can track expenses in there. You can do some sales tax features with that. You get like your normal balance sheet and you get your profit and loss statement, but like really it's just a financial report system when it comes down to it for most people. And when we talk about QuickBooks Payroll, which is a completely separate thing that has also seen its own increases both in August of last year and coming up in July this year, you're going to pay at least $56 a month. And that does not include anywhere near the same protections that you get with other payroll processors like Gusto or ADP that are going to charge relatively the same amount of money. You don't get the same support. You don't get the same treatment. Like it's the bare bones. And honestly, QuickBooks Payroll is the worst of the payroll processors that I've ever worked with for like literally being something that's baked into a financial report system. It's hard to find things related to payroll. It's almost twice as hard to resolve problems if they come up during payroll. And it's 3 times as easy to make a mistake in QuickBooks using their own payroll platforms too. So all in all, you know, if you're going to be increasing prices, usually I am a pretty strong advocate that the value also needs to increase in tandem. But in these instances, I don't really see the value because whatever they're giving you right now might not be what they give you 6 months down the road with that same subscription that you've signed up for.
And I think, like you said, it's if it was perfect, if you went in there and it was just like easy to use, you had really good customer support, you knew that when you were doing the payroll and everything that you're doing in there, everything was going to be very accurate, man, I'd be willing to pay that price all day, every day. And I think that a lot of people get, blinded by the fact that like QuickBooks is very popular, it's very well known, it's trusted, and they get too blinded by that, and then you end up making mistakes and paying more.
Or you don't know about switching, you don't know what the work involved with switching is, and so then you kind of get stuck because that's what you trusted as an easy, straightforward software. And then I think that to a point they're banking on that. They're banking on the fact that they've gotten all these people into this software and they don't want to move. They don't want to go somewhere else. And so now they're kind of in the point where they're taking advantage of people, in my opinion.
Yeah. It's interesting. So Felicia and I were actually classifying transactions for a client the other day, and we ended up looking in some of the classified transactions and noticed that the AI system was classifying transactions for us automatically. And wrong, I might add.
Yep.
And Felicia, it was pretty funny, left a pretty heated feedback report, and they ended up scheduling a meeting with you.
Yeah, which I'll say I'm impressed by. Usually I feel like my comments don't go very far, but I think that was within a week, right? That somebody was like, hey, we got your all caps response that you weren't so happy about this feature. Do you want to set up a meeting so that we could talk through this? And yeah, I did have that meeting, and turns out that that person wasn't the right department to actually look into and resolve the actual issue at hand, which I think is just hilarious because that kind of just echoes that it's hard to get a hold of somebody that when you really need to. And, it's funny because I listened to about a couple of different podcasts about the new changes with Intuit, and I ended up deciding not to have the follow-up meeting with the second QuickBooks rep, because what I've learned about with these new price increases that are starting in July is that they're going to start forcing the AI automations for customers regardless. So they don't want you to have the option to opt out of this if you wanted to. They are pretty much forcing the issue here. So why they even wanted to meet with me, I don't know, because they have zero intentions of actually allowing you to turn off the automated features. And I'm a big fan of automations, but I'm a fan of automations that help with efficiency by suggesting based on repetition and patterns. I don't like the automations to do the work for us because that's how mistakes get made. That's how things get overlooked. Me and Allison were looking for something specific, and that's how we found that it had started automatically classifying things for us. But if you weren't specifically looking for something, would you have ever known, or would you have known 6 months down the road when you actually need something that was affected by an auto categorization? And then at that point, how far down the road has it gone in an incorrect direction, So, I, like Allison said earlier, I think that, you need a human eye on these things. Automations and softwares definitely help with the efficiency part, but you still need that human touch to make sure that everything is what it's supposed to be, because this is your money at the end of the day. You don't necessarily want a computer making these financial decisions for you. You want somebody with a brain and a human touch that really understands your business and what you're trying to accomplish in your business to help make those decisions for you. So if they're forcing software like that on us, which they are, then I am just going to use my time to find the right software that's going to give us the support that we want in the ways that we want the support, right? I'm not going to sit there on another meeting with Intuit to try and convince them to add to add a toggle off switch.
It's weird because, with the rules, and you can create a rule in QuickBooks, which is fantastic. I think it's a great representation of AI working well. And you have an option to not auto add. I don't understand why they would not make this something where you can turn on and turn off the automations. It just doesn't make sense to me.
Yep.
So
I agree.
And we've been testing other alternatives to different softwares. Do you want to talk about the positives maybe that you found with the softwares like Xero, Zoho Books, Wave, AppFolio, stuff like that?
Yeah, Xero is a good QuickBooks equivalent. It's, I think, an Australian. It's where it's an Australian-based company. It's where it started, but they've expanded into North America, and it does pretty well in the United States. I don't love the interface. I think it's ugly, to be quite honest. But they do keep making updates every single year that at least make it more competitive with QuickBooks. When I first started using Xero, maybe 5 years ago, you might find this hilarious, Allison, but there actually wasn't a reconcile function. You couldn't reconcile to a bank statement. So how do you know that you've got all the right activity in there? I don't know. But they do have a reconciliation feature now, and their software works pretty well. The Zoho Books and Wave are also two that I like working in. They're great for small service businesses, but they're very basic, and they're not ideal for industries like restaurants or manufacturing or anything where you've got a cost of goods sold accounts or a cost of goods sold process or a bunch of loans or liabilities that you need to track on the balance sheet. They're more basic, I would say, in comparison to a QuickBooks Online or a Xero. Folio is a property management software. So for in the real estate industries, I like AppFolio a lot for property management. And it does have a lot of the functions that a normal financial reporting system would have, but there's no actual bank feeds at all. So a bank feed is something that's directly connected with your bank that brings over transactions in real time. And then from your bank feeds, you typically categorize the transactions into buckets. Well, AppFolio has the same financial reports, the balance sheet and the income statement, but there's no bank feed. So it's all heavily reliant on the data being put in to the system correctly, which is good, but there's obviously going to be things that are missed. And they do have a reconciliation function. So
That's
you
so weird
can
that they
actually
don't have
reconcile
the
it.
because I feel
I
like when
know.
you're adding in stuff into the bank feed, like adding your own entries in, like you have a very good chance of making mistakes or missing things. Like,
Yeah. No, you're correct. And so like they're like 90% of the way there, and I don't know why they don't just have a bank feed, but they don't have bank feeds. But at least you can reconcile. But then also another property management software that I've been playing around with lately too is REI Hub. And I actually like REI Hub. It's a little weird in comparison to AppFolio, but I think that's just because I've worked with AppFolio for like over 5 years with different property management companies. But REI Hub, it does have bank feeds. It is a direct connect. It does have a reconciliation feature, and it has financial reporting systems too. So that client specifically, we've been looking at whether or not we were going to bring them into QuickBooks or not. And after poking around in REI Hub for long enough now, like I'm going to say no, like it does all of the same stuff that QuickBooks does. Why pay for another software subscription when this system can levy as both the property management and the financial reporting system too? So there's a lot of them out there, and it's just really finding the right fit for your business needs, honestly.
so this episode we're talking about softwares. We're not just specifically talking about financial softwares, especially since we're looking at switching to Count. It is a financial software, but it's also got other layers baked into it. And so I kind of wanted to address some of our favorite softwares. Felicia and I've talked about in the past how much we both really appreciate Asana. Asana is our task management system. It's really nice to just kind of toss in a bunch of, you've got an idea for today and you're like, well, I'm not going to do it right this second. Toss it into Asana, and then you set a due date to do it whenever you want to do it. You can automate your other tasks of like, I want a reoccurring one. I can set a specific time. I love Asana. I've actually put it into use for like my personal projects at home. So Asana is one of my favorites. So my other one is Descript. So that's actually what we're recording the podcast in right now. We only pay $25 a month for it. We're able to record in different states. We're able to edit everything here. Descript is fantastic for all of our editing needs. The more that we learn about it, the more capabilities that we have. And yeah, I actually really, really like Descript. Felicia.
Yeah.
What about you, girl?
Yeah, I like Asana a lot too. I think in one of our recent episodes I talked about why I like Asana the most for shooting rainbow unicorns.
Yeah, right.
Randomly. As you did good, go girl type of a reward on. But I honestly also love Slack. And Slack is just primarily a communication tool, I would say. But you can do some really cool stuff. Like what we planned our entire retreat and our entire itinerary for Slack and all of our travel arrangements and whatnot was all in Slack within one channel so that it was easy for us to access while we were on the road. We have a client channel for every single client where we keep all of our communications. We have our like firm direct channels too, where we can keep like education in one spot and all this stuff. So like I really, really do love Slack for communications. And another software that I really love is 1Password, which is our secure password vault where we keep all of our, sensitive materials. And
That's such a good one.
It's such a good one. I don't know why people still use LastPass, to be quite honest. We both came from a company that used and like relied heavily on LastPass, and it was always clunky, but 1Password is just like amazing. And I've used it on both Windows and on Mac operating systems, and it is just like chef's kiss. But I think it's great that we're talking about all of these different softwares in addition to the financial reports software system, because that kind of leads me to like what, like, yeah, this Intuit price increase really just like made me want to explore other options, but also conveniently at the same time. At the end of May, I attended a conference here locally in Washington called the WAVE Conference. And it's the Women in Accounting and Finance, Visionary and Entrepreneurship Conference. It was a day filled with lots of women in finances being badass, which I absolutely loved. But we also got to mingle and network with a bunch of different software partners that were there to help us automate things like contracts and financial reporting and month-end close processes and banking and all of this stuff. So it was really cool. I actually got to meet the guys at Count, which Count is it's a startup here in Washington specifically that works with Pacific Northwest businesses primarily. And they're working directly with the accounting professionals in this region to figure out what we need to support an all-in-one system. And I absolutely love and adore it. Spoiler alert too, we bonded over chatting motorsports. So go figure, like it was like a good fit for both of us, you know? But I love what they're doing. They're focused on creating software that really meets the needs of accounting professionals in the capacity that the accounting professionals need the help in. You know, there are a lot of softwares out there that are marketed towards bookkeeping firms and whatnot, but honestly, they each have their own suck, which is why we've settled for QuickBooks. And a lot of the times they're geared more towards the tax professionals and not us who are doing, you know, the consulting and the day-to-day and all of that stuff. So, you know, we chatted at the conference a little bit and then later again at the happy hour down in Pike Place Market after the conference. And I was really loving what I heard and I really liked their mission. So I did a demo with them last week. And, you know, it's really cool because they're putting out software updates twice a month right now. And they're adding new features or new goodies each and every time that they're putting out these updates. And again, it's all based on real feedback that they've gotten from their actual accountants for what they want to see in an accounting software. And the most attractive part for me as a firm owner is that it is literally going to become a software program that is going to replace our own firm financial reporting system. It's going to replace our time tracking. It's going to replace our project profitability calculations. It's going to replace our CRM. It's going to replace our task management system for all of the tasks that we do for all of our clients and for our firm. We'll be able to process AP payments through there. We're going to be able to manage all of our receipts through that. We're going to also be able to handle internal client communications and questions in there. So we'll have to use Slack less and we'll have more of our answers actually in the accounting software where it belongs. And then it also has the potential to replace our electronic storage and our password vaults as well too. So, you know, in reality, this software has the ability to reduce our tech stack from about 8 different software programs that we use right now down to just one if we end up using all of their features, right? And, you know, for most people, the cost of their subscription to include all of the things that I just listed off is $29 a month. So that's less than the QuickBooks literally base plan. Like, and you get so much more. And, you know, for some of the super high level other add-ons, there's like an additional cost, but it's pretty low and pretty minimal. And it's still going to be cheaper than QuickBooks probably. And, you know, they've got really slick metric management tools and dashboards that you can build off the financial report data. There's an option that we can invite clients to so that we can either ask them questions directly or we can, you know, allow them to have access so they can see these dashboards that we're creating as well too. And, you know, it can also sync to your QuickBooks account. So if you like are not ready to bite the bullet just yet and you want to just like see, it can literally work in tandem with your QuickBooks subscription to give you better data and a more all-in-one tool, or it can literally just replace QuickBooks altogether in one big software program. And there's a lot of customizable features within the task management system and automations that you can put into place too, so that it can take some of the cumbersome responsibilities off your plate, like creating new projects that you have to create every single month and setting up recurring tasks, setting up recurring journal entries, all that. So I'm actually like really stoked about what Count is doing, and I'm super happy to give them a shot and consolidate, right?
I'm excited to see how everything flows together. And once we actually get all of our information in there and see, you know, just see it working, it'll be really cool, really testing out a new software, especially with everything that it's supposedly able to do. I'm excited to try it out. So,
yeah. And I mean, it's funny. I don't think that this Count migration is necessarily going to save us a whole lot of money with the software consolidations, but it is going to consolidate the amount of tabs that we have open or the amount of places that we have to go to reference different information. So like, I think that's an important thing to note too, is that, not every change within your organization is going to have a direct monetary benefit. Some of that monetary benefit is just going to be related to time savings that you're going to have. And there's, in my opinion, not really a value that you can put on giving somebody back time in their day or making things more efficient for somebody. Like that's invaluable gains, in my opinion. And like I said, I've really wanted a task management system that works in tandem with the financial report system for a while. So I'm really, really stoked.
So I think this is a good time to talk about, we're talking about switching our software systems, but in reality, we don't make our clients conform to the softwares that we currently use, and we don't necessarily plan on making them switch to Count or any of the softwares that we plan on moving to in the near future. Do you want to talk about why that's the case and why you've decided to do that with our business?
Yeah. The prior firm I worked with, they were really big fans of getting everybody on the same software systems and everybody on the same workflows, because that's what they thought would make things more efficient and streamlined on the back end for us as employees of their firm. But like, I very much acknowledge that every single business is different. Every client is different. Everybody has different needs. So there is no cookie cutter, this is the right software that you need to pick, because what works for you doesn't work for your neighbor next door. And that's really part of the service that we provide to our clients, is what's the best tool for the right job that your business needs to get it done correctly and efficiently. We help our clients find the sweet spot between workflow enhancement with the accompanying softwares that aren't going to break the bank.
100%. Well said. I think this is a good place to wrap everything up. We really hope that you guys have enjoyed today's episode, and we hope that we gave you something to think about, whether that's reevaluating your own systems or maybe just feeling a little bit more in control of the tools you're already using. If you do want to chat with us about streamlining your business or rebuilding your software stack, we would love to chat with you. Please just visit www.cleanbeeconsulting.com/full-throttle-finance. That's CLEANBEE consulting.com. And if you found today's insights valuable, please like, share, subscribe, comment, tag, do all the things, please. We would really appreciate it. It's helping show support for our business and what we're doing here at Full Throttle Finance. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you guys next Friday as we continue to break down finances with a motorsport twist. We'll see you guys.
See you next Friday.